So first off, we just kind of want to do a first year review.
Sure.
I mean, recapping your first year, what were some highlights?
It was a great first year. I had a chance to get to know a lot of people and understand the culture at Fresno State better. And we also had many significant accomplishments. We launched the Discover E program. We're about ready to launch that in a few days. We moved forward on some important work with agriculture and lots of other things I'd be happy to talk about with you today.
And so what about some learning curves? I mean, is there anything from your first year that you're really going to take into your second year?
Well, I think it's a big job, and it's certainly a challenging job. It's also very gratifying and meaningful, and and it's all of that together, which is a really exciting mix. And I think I'm just going to continue to do what we're doing. It's important to listen carefully to everybody's views and to do that before I make decisions. So I've been trying to do that, and I'll try to continue doing that.
Okay. And so last year also saw a pretty good year of fundraising of $43 million.
Yeah, we had a great year. As you might know, Dr. Welty had a very successful comprehensive fundraising campaign that ended right before I arrived.
Mm-hmm.
And that exceeded their target. And they raised about $214 million for that campaign. Usually what happens after a campaign is everybody takes a deep breath and you see a little bit of a lull.
Yeah.
For us, it actually turned out to be very different. We raised more money in 2013-14 than we did the year before,
yeah.
Significantly more. It was a very good year. It was actually our second best year in our history. And it's exciting because I feel like we're just getting warmed up here, and I think we've got a very bright future in that area.
And then what kind of factors do you think, made it such an increase from the previous year? I mean, because I was at the faculty assembly this morning, and I know that you said, I think it was 64% increase? Yeah,
about 64%, yes. I think we're very fortunate. We have a lot of alumni, 200,000 alumni, and we have a lot of friends who care deeply about Fresno State, and that makes it easier when you have lots of friends who care. So our job is to inspire them and to share with them all the great things that are happening at Fresno State and the kinds of things that can happen with their help, new things, whether it's expanding an existing program or creating something new. We're expanding the concert hall, for example, with help from the Asimi family. And then Dr. Bill Isles is making an enormous 25-year commitment to Fresno State for the College of Engineering. And then there are other gifts from individuals, from companies, foundations, and one of the great things as president is I get to meet these very generous people who care deeply about Fresno State. And I think it's for all those reasons, as well as really talented staff and deans and inspiring students. All that together is what contributes to success. And we have a new vice president coming. She's arrived now, actually, Paula Castadio. And I have so much confidence in her. I think she, along with this team, are going to take us to that next level. So it's really, I'm very optimistic about what's happening there.
Yeah, I did have a question later on, but I can ask it now. With
Sure.
the introduction of 3 new VPs in your administration, I mean, what do you think they're going to bring to the table that you didn't have previously?
Well, they each bring unique gifts to the table. Frank Lamas, for example, he's a nationally recognized expert in student success. And he's been asking a lot of great questions in these early weeks. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing that? And I think it's really healthy to have those kinds of questions. And then he's really pushed this Fres Wow program, which is a way of making sure that we welcome all of our students to campus in an effective way and really demonstrate to them that we want everybody to have this strong sense of belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Zalesny has been here many years. She has earned tremendous respect from our faculty, and that's so important to have in that provost role as a chief academic officer, to have that respect, credibility, and experience. And she's going to really help us to build on the work that Dr. Hoff and I started last year. She was his associate provost, and so she's ready. And you know, one of the things that I love about her, among many things, is that she relies heavily on best practices in research to guide her perspective. And so we all have our own opinions, but she's really good at reminding us about, well, what does the research show in this area or that area. So I think we can all be confident that the work that she's going to lead in academic affairs is grounded in that literature, in the research literature. And then Paula Castadio, you know, this is somebody who grew up in the Valley, who has graduated from Fresno State like Dr. Zalesny, and who stayed here and has worked for decades at Valley PBS. And I met her out in the community, and I was very impressed with the work that she had done to advance that organization. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's anybody who's more passionate about education in her area than Paula. And I think she's going to bring that energy to our campus, and I'm really excited about all the great things that are going to happen under her leadership.
Okay, great. And so just moving on to the tablet program, it's starting in a couple of days. It must be exciting to finally see it happen.
It is. Thursday is a big day.
Yeah. And so I guess the main question I have about that is, this with it being the first semester it's happening, how do you plan to monitor its success rate and, you know, whether students are responding well to the program or not and the style of learning?
Well, it's very important that our students succeed in this program. We have taken every step that we could think about to ensure their success. We've been going through all these trials to make sure that we're ready for this launch. And we've been pushing ourselves to ask, you know, what are some of the things that we really need to focus on? We're going through the whole process that they're going through and making tweaks wherever we can. Our faculty are ready. They've been going through professional development for the last several months. They're very excited. I've seen some of the materials that they've produced, and it's extremely impressive. We have examples of courses that had been relying primarily on textbooks that will now be using similar content that's available through video or other kind of material, journal articles and other things on the web, and they're creating iBooks, for example, that are free of charge to the student. So we're seeing some incredible innovation that's occurring, and one of the other powerful things that will happen is that students will have this tool 24/7, and they can do their work at whatever time of day or night, wherever they are. And so a lot of our students are commuting from small towns around the Valley. They'll have that tool no matter when they need it. And that's going to be, I think, one of the huge benefits. And then kind of looking ahead, we want to make sure that our students are well prepared for the changes that are happening in society. And I was just at a farm last week in Fowler. One of our alumni owns the farm with his father. And we went, and there was a guy inspecting these table grapes. It was one of our alums, and he was using a tablet with an app to assess the quality of the other alum's fruit.
Yeah.
And I thought, what better example of what we are trying to accomplish here than that? And I think that's just one example of many out there. We see them in doctors' offices and restaurants and rental car agencies and all over the place. So I want to make sure our students have that preparation for the changes that are occurring in society.
And do you think, like midway through the semester there'll be any, review of the program? Are you going to talk to students and?
Yeah, the review is constant. We actually have a group that meets every month, and then subgroups that meet even more often on different aspects of the program. We have a team of professors and administrators who are assessing the program as well and giving us data continuously. And what we know is that Latino students seem to be disproportionately represented among the sample. We already have a large Latino population at Fresno State, but the tablet program actually has a larger percentage, and so at least that's one early indication of interest there. And then a lot of first-time freshmen. Over 70% of the students in the program are first-time freshmen. So we'll keep track of all that and make sure that our students are being served well.
Right. And so I know that, this program, part of your wider goal of increasing graduation rates and focusing on student success.
Yeah.
Can we expect any new programs, being outlined or introduced this coming year?
I think it's possible. I've asked Provost Zelezny and Vice President Lamas to, we have two different student success groups right now, and I want them brought together into one working group. And their charge is going to be how do we accelerate our student success here at Fresno State? And for example, how can we increase our graduation rates by 20% over the next decade?
Is that something of a bigger goal that
Yes.
you guys have?
Yeah, I challenged our deans and provosts last Friday at their retreat, and we talked about how that line has been flat for many years, and I don't think that we should accept that. I understand why it exists, and I know this is going to be really, really hard, but I don't think that's a good excuse for us to just continue to allow it to happen. So the question is going to be, what do we need to do to make extraordinary progress? What actions are we going to need to take? What policies might we need to change? What practices might we need to modify so that we can make extraordinary progress? So the two of them are leading that, and every single dean is going to be involved, associate dean. I've asked the Senate to have this as one of their priorities for the year, so I'm urging them to have conversations about what individual faculty should be doing, what the academic senate should be doing. The student body knows, the ASI, they know this is important. I'm going to urge them to get involved as well. And my feeling is that if we're all focused on this, we can make very good progress. So I believe there'll be some new initiatives, and then there'll be some existing ones that will strengthen, will expand. Again, if we use Provost Zelezny's research-based best practices approach, which I think is appropriate here, so that we're making the right investments.
And so a program that you mentioned this morning in your faculty assembly speech was kind of food program for those students that are food insecure. Could you elaborate on that?
Sure. Well, I